So for this episode of Attack of the Killer podcast, no one can give me crap about the films chosen this time. The attackers have taken over. They have picked the films for this episode. Blame them.
Defensive much?
I mean, you chose them from their pool of movies, so...
Oh, God, whatever. Just play the theme.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay.
What's happening, party people? Welcome to another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I am your host with the most, Insane Mike, and this is episode 289, where we let our Patreons, that we refer to with affection as the attackers, we have them pick the films that we're going to talk about on this show. So usually we pick our own topic and discuss films within that said topic. So the films are kind of always themed for the most part. So this is kind of nice, actually, this time, that we're going to get films that are way more random, no central theme. So it's nice to have that variety. But the best part is that it's less work that I have to do. Now, we're all just friends. We're here hanging out, talking horror movies like we do. So we speak openly and freely, so there may be spoilers.
There will be spoilers.
Guaranteed.
Positively.
Getting to pick films for a random episode of the show is only one of many, many perks you get when you support the show. It's more than just becoming a Patreon. You become part of the Attack of the Killer podcast family that we call the Attackers. When you support the show, you can get all kinds of extra content, such as early access to the show, bonus episodes, exclusive to the Attackers. You get our video shows like video updates and Say Mike's 1 Minute Top 10 list, killer critiques. You can get a membership card, certificate, even a sticker. You can get original art by me called Mikey's Monsters, where I draw you as a monster of my choice. You get invites to our monthly horror hangout, watch parties, and even access to our exclusive chat called Attack of the Killer Chat. Clever. You can even get shout-outs on the website and the show, much like these amazing people.
That's right, like these awesome attackers. Timothy Lennerer, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett Royer, Seth Key, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Gutzel, Stephen Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Moeller, Rod Hutchinson, Carmen DeHague, Abraham Moreno, Jacob Book, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Marcus Rude, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Berg, Emily Randolph, Bill Fisher, and Greg Diedrich.
Yes, those people are amazing.
What a list.
That's right. They are attackers, and you can be one too. Just go to jointheattackers.com, pick out the tier you like the best, and become an attacker today. That is jointheattackers.com. Now, I bet you're wondering who will be joining me on this journey into madness. It is now time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He was at the blood bank where he was donating blood the other day, and he noticed on the forms he had to fill out that there was a lot of misspelling. That's because the blood bank always wants more type O's. Tad.
Jesus Christ.
A really long way to get to that one. Hey, guys.
He was never a big fan of organ donating, but he recently had a change of heart. Jason.
Organ doning? What did you... Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for listening.
His co-worker asked him for donations for his charity marathon. He was afraid he was just going to take the money and run. Andy.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening.
It's summertime, summertime, summertime. Time for outdoor fun, camping, playing frisbee golf, going swimming, and our favorite pastime, hiding inside and watching movies. Here's Tad with what we watched.
All right, everybody, pull up those Letterboxd accounts. I want to hear what you've watched. Jason, shoot.
Oh, he knew it. He caught me.
He was literally doing it as you said that.
Yep.
So what's not on my letterbox is a couple series as I've been watching and finished. Yellow Jackets.
Woohoo.
Did you finish it yet, Ted?
I did. Did everybody else so I can cancel Showtime?
I think I'm good.
I did. Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, they're
good.
just going to be merging with, God, who are they merging?
Paramount Plus.
That was it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It got there. Man, I agree with what Tad said. The last time he mentioned Yellow Jackets, it just got a little tough for me.
Yeah,
You
I
still-
didn't love it as much as the first season.
And yeah, the 3/4 of the season when it was modern times, I'm like, I don't think I care. But eventually, once they all got to the camp, I was like, all right, at least they're
When
together.
they get together, yeah.
That's all
Right.
that was awesome. So, and then should have saw that happen. But anyway, it's good. It's good. And then Barry finished season whatever it is, the series.
The series ending. Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
what an ender! What a season. I started this season like not necessarily liking it, but it definitely became the Barry that I think we have been watching. You know, it seemed to like get there eventually, but yeah, it's just a great show.
Well, I'll just say, because it was on what we watched too, because I also finished it, and I've been following it since episode 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I almost feel like I kind of got punked a little bit. I love the show, and I like this season a lot too. But it just, to me, it was always dark humor.
Yep.
But it felt like with
Always.
season 1, especially, it seemed like a little more lighthearted and funny, even though he's going around killing people.
Right.
But this last season was dark, with very
themes
little
just
levity.
get darker and darker.
Yeah, and no spoilers, but it just is ultra dark.
Yep. Yeah, it's great.
But it was great. Yes.
And that's on HBO, I believe. Movie wise, super excited. I finally got to watch Avatar: The Way of Water. I fucking loved it. God,
You
it
started
was-
like when we finished last episode and just finished it, right?
Stop it. Yeah. It's only 192 minutes. That's it.
What did you like about it?
Dude, it was awesome. The world building in it alone was awesome. And then, like, you know, from the first one, you got these air tree people, and then they have to, like, move to be water people. And
Listen to what you're saying.
it was awesome, man. I loved it.
Here's
and then with the
okay.
kids coming into it and the new, yeah,
I thought the first one was just Pocahontas with Smurfs.
you guys are awful.
Here's the thing. This is from a complete outside perspective because I have not seen a frame of any of these, of either of these movies.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I can say this much after, like, scrolling through the internet and finding a trailer which just turned out to be another Star Trek thing, that I can at least appreciate James Cameron trying to give us a new IP, something new, something
Fuck yeah.
that's not Marvel, it's not Star Wars, it's not, all these others. We need more of that, So whether you like it or not, I feel like we can
You
at least appreciate that.
And then,
I appreciate James Cameron's like
Dedication.
yes, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
all right.
Just like diving into this, even though it's not my thing, I can appreciate what he's like head first devoting his life to this, and
yeah.
it's for somebody obviously that keeps raking in a dollar, so he's doing something right and
Whenever he does something, he's all in.
right.
Yeah, so
And I feel like for the right reasons, right? Like, we can be cynical maybe about George Lucas at times, thinking that, were we still getting new Star Wars from him with like the prequels just because there's a paycheck involved and he's trying to tell us it was the master plan? Whatever. It may not be the best example, but I'm just saying this definitely feels like with like anything James Cameron does is like it's all about the passion for the material. So
And I just happen to really love adventure fantasy content, and so I dug the shit out of this movie. I thought it was great. But
cool, good.
I'll probably eventually watch it.
The little loincloth kid I absolutely hated. Anyways,
that's all of it. He's just being a
he was so the
And
kid
the-
with dreads and the loincloth, the George of the Jungle kid that thought he was like the Navi jerk, where he thought he was blue but he's not.
oh
You know?
okay, I gotcha. The,
You know,
the
like
human. That's
yeah, like
still,
yeah, like Steve Martin thinks he's black and the jerk, but this kid has like dreads and wears a loincloth and thinks he's blue. That kid was such a bad actor. Every time he's on screen, I felt like it was like a Disney Channel original. Ugh.
Well,
What else did you watch?
speaking of
Disney Channel original movie.
talking about good actors, I watched this awesome documentary. I think it was on Apple TV called "Still," a Michael J. Fox movie.
I don't know if I can watch it.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's awesome. I mean, it's great. It's him telling his story, and it's definitely hard to watch, but it's also uplifting and sweet. And
He was at like a reunion convention this weekend.
I saw
Awesome.
I saw that clip.
Yeah, he face planted, but caught himself on a couch. So
Yeah.
oh yeah, the whole movie starts with him fucking eating it and just
yeah,
trying to walk, and yep, and stuff with his family and a lot of stuff with his wife, and it's great. Just to see him be through it positive and fighting the good fight reminds me of somebody else I know.
yeah.
That's what I watched.
All right, Mike, what have you watched?
Okay, well, Jason took my answer when he said Barry, so I'll skip that. So other than that, just watched a couple movies recently. Simon and I just catching up on some superhero action. We watched Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Woo.
Was way better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, right.
I really had a good time with it. Really enjoyed it. What's his face? As funny as ever. What made me nervous going into it was just the fact that, I really struggle with in the world of even if it's comic books or superhero movies when they really start adding more magic into things.
Yes.
And especially dealing with quote unquote gods. Because first of all, I will never understand the definition of a god. I don't understand it. What are the Norse gods versus the? I mean, I understand the differences. I know who's who, but what makes a god? How are these people? I can't even describe. That's how far removed I am from this concept. And then the fact that they have powers that they can pull out of their ass at any given plot point moment is what really
Convenient.
turns me off and scares me away from movies like this. But I felt like they built enough of a world here that they stuck with their rules. And then, the climactic stuff with all of the mythological characters. Simon was giddy. It was because it was like Dungeons and Dragons coming to life in the streets of the city, with like unicorns and cyclopses and all these mythical creatures running around the street. That was pretty cool. So yeah, it was definitely way better than I thought it was. I will say there was one moment of convenience magic in the movie that was almost ruined for me, but it was right there at the end, and it's like, whatever, I don't care at this point. I had a good time up to this point, so it's fine. And then we also got around to watching Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania, which wasn't bad. I mean, it's definitely on the bottom of the trilogy, but like the other two's better. But I will say this, as just my personal opinion outside observation, that Ant-Man in the Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, is literally the worst superhero ever. Like, if you look at all three of these movies, it's not him going out and saving
He
the
doesn't
day.
do any.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything.
Nothing.
And it's
Talking
all...
junk on Tommy Doyle, man.
It's like if there was no Hank Pym and there was no Scott Lang, none of those events would happen. Everything is happening because of them in those three movies. All three of them. So the world would be better off without them. If they want to be true superheroes, quit. You know?
All right. The world will be better if you stop.
the more you know with Mike Stanley.
Exactly. So, now, although, and so with that said, the ending, which I'll try not to be spoilery about it, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I hate
It's
it.
supposed to be starting the new phase, right?
Well, it's lead into the main villain of this phase. Yeah. So it is kind of the start of the phase. Yeah. I hate it because of, again, some conveniency things and what I just said about how, like, these people should not be superheroes because, but at the same time, because of this, I feel like it's kind of cool because it's showing that these heroes, Ant-Man in particular, is definitely human and makes pretty big mistakes. The chain of events that is going to happen in this phase is kind of his fault at the end of the day. So, again, without being spoilery, but yeah,
And Michelle Pfeiffer's still super hot.
I think she's hotter,
Right.
older.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Anyway,
I think it was Hemsworth did not to get down the Marvel rabbit hole, but he just did like an interview and was basically like, in retrospect, Love and Thunder was way too silly. We had way too much fun on set. We should have realized the movie was going to come out silly, and he said he's like, with the Ant-Man movies, he's like, you're taking this character that it's a character that is it's all about the personal relationships with his daughter and his family and everything. Yeah. And it's like, why would you put him in this Quantumania? You're taking this small intimate character. He was sort of this he's not a guardian or a god. He's a person.
He's a ground level superhero,
right?
Like Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah, it's and he was throwing him into the Quantumania was just it took him out of his element. It wasn't good anymore. I don't know. He was saying that was a mistake.
Your audience identifies with a father that just wants to be there for his kid, and all this other jazz kind of dehumanizes him a little bit.
Yeah. So it was interesting hearing him talk about this, Hemsworth, and then I guess because he's wrapped up with his Marvel contract, he can shit on him. But but then he was saying it really hurt to hear Scorsese and Tarantino sort of crap on Marvel movies because he's like, those guys are my heroes, and there still are, but he's, Tarantino basically called him a nobody.
That's dumb.
Well, he basically said there's no more movie stars. It's the characters. He's like, it doesn't matter anymore who plays Thor or Captain America. The actors aren't the stars. It's the character we're going to see.
And what's wrong? But also, though, what's wrong with that? Are we so Hollywoodized that we can't go see a movie without a big star in it? That would be what I would throw back in Tarantino's face.
But what he's saying is that there's no stars anymore.
On the flip side,
again, what's wrong with that?
It.
Who cares? Who gives a shit?
Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. Come on, man. I'm not going to see anybody else play Wolverine.
Oh wait, who is? God damn it! Who is supposed to be?
Or Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. No one else is.
I don't know. Whatever.
That's How what dare I watched. You question?
Anyways, what else you watch, Mike?
No, that was it.
All right. Well, Andy, what have you watched?
Yeah, I've been, I was, just real brief, but I've been dipping into the classics. Watch me some Killer Clowns.
Woo! It's an anniversary this year too, right?
Yeah. I mean, just, who doesn't love that? I mean, I'm probably gonna watch it another time in a row just to drive my wife crazy. Also watched Vincent Price and the Fall of the House of Usher, one of my favorite AIP films.
Nice.
Yeah, that's still probably my favorite out of the Poe tales. A lot of people are either Mask of Red Death or Pit in the Pendulum, but Usher's my jam. Also finished Yellow Jackets. Wish we would see probably more, and we probably will. I wish we would see more of like the just delightfully demented relationship between Christina Ricci and Elijah Wood.
Yes.
I think
Oh,
that dynamic is
love
just
those two.
It's really good. I do agree with you guys to an extent that it slogged a little bit in this season, but I think they wrapped it up kind of nicely to cliffhanger wise. I'll keep watching.
They
Late to the part.
I was just
Go
gonna say they got like 2 days into writing the 3rd season before the writer strike happened.
Oh, so it'll be a minute. So you're saying?
A long, yeah. They haven't, yeah. It hasn't even been written, so we're probably like a 2-year delay at least.
Did you guys hear
Wonderful.
there might possibly now also be a director strike coming up too?
I heard about the SAG one last night. Screen Actors
and the
Guild.
Screen Actors Guild one too. I was like,
Yeah, so
sweet, let's watch Hollywood burn.
at least we
Rise of
have
the Independents.
at least
Rise of the
every
Independents.
at least every single band is currently touring this summer. Jesus Christ. Anyways, Andy,
Late to the party with this one. I finally got around to watching Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice,
Yay!
like the 3-hour one.
The Snyder Cut version.
The
Hell
Ultimate
yeah.
Edition or whatever they called it. And like I said, I had no idea that Negan and Maggie were Batman's parents. That was neat. Just
Yeah.
I can
I don't remember
understand.
that.
It gets a little almost overblown at the end for me. It's like normally I would never tell like a movie to like tone it down, but I mean,
That doesn't sound like you at all. Yeah.
but like the whole Doomsday ending. I mean, it's fine that he's there, but it's almost like too ape shit. The ending, just like okay,
Yeah.
he just threw him through like a nuclear facility or an oil refinery, and it's just like okay, it's just getting a little too overblown. I mean, I don't hate it, but I was just like, okay, it was getting to the point, where I wasn't entertained. I was getting to the point where it's just like, okay, can we wrap this up? Kill him. Let's go.
What are you going to throw at me next with your
Yeah, exactly.
with
It's
your
like-
500 act structure?
It's just he's gonna pick up a cruise liner and just beat him to death with it. And I was like, okay, whatever, just fucking stop. I'll watch that. And then of course I got into the new season of Dark Side of the Ring, which
What's
I
the
will still
first
recommend
episode?
to anybody. What's the first episode?
yeah.
Chris Candido and Tammy Lynn Stitch, and it details with his early death. And I won't go into the much particulars, but I will say that I'm glad they made it more about Chris as opposed to being it more about Tammy, because Tammy Lynn Stitch is a fucking horrible human being. And you'll find out. Plus, she's facing multiple years in prison because she just can't stop drinking and driving, and she killed somebody. So, and she's still saying, that she didn't do anything wrong. And she's a horrible, horrible person, and she was horrible to Chris, and you'll find that out in the episode. But yeah,
Is this back on Hulu where it was before?
this here's what I did.
Oh.
I just went ahead, and since I didn't want to go shopping for it, and I've got a lot more time in my hands at home, so I just said screw it, and I bought this season on Amazon.
Hell
So I
yeah.
was just like,
Okay.
the hell with it, I'm gonna buy it, so I don't have to worry about
Yep.
looking for it or waiting, So yeah, I look forward to. I know they're gonna be covering.
Probably
I
all
know
kinds
we
of
can-
sunny, happy things.
Yeah, exactly. Being it's called Dark, they want to level it out. But I know two other wrestlers that have got to be on there are Marty Jannetty,
Yeah.
which that guy's got a lot of stories about him, and Abdullah the Butcher, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty cool season. So I'm glad it's back, and that's what I watched.
All right.
Cool. Tab, what have you been watching?
I
Short
actually
films.
no, I actually did get to more things than you might expect. The first thing I threw on while I was working on some film festival stuff, something I've been wanting to watch for a while. I think Godzilla might have mentioned it.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Kids versus Aliens on Shudder.
Yeah, I want to watch that. Yeah.
Anyone else see it?
What's that?
I have not.
It is like in the vein of Psycho Gorman, sort of, but it's like
A
some
little more grounded, though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like it's sort of a mix of that and a little Monster Squad. It's like this group of kids who like making little fun independent movies, and their older sister joins them. They make their own costumes and stuff, but the sort of jock dude, the bully, infiltrates their group and is picking on them, and then an alien invasion happens during a house party, and the kids are all foul-mouthed, and it's kids versus literally aliens. Has a bit of humor, but also has some sort of fun, scary stuff. It's from the guy who did Hobo with a Shotgun. He did Dark Side of the Ring. He did Turbo Kid, VHS 2.
Yeah, Jason
Eisner.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Shit.
I need to watch Turbo Kid
And
again. That was so good.
I believe his segment in VHS 2 was that birthday party where the aliens invade, which I thought was supposed to be the inspiration for this film.
probably, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You guys will all dig it. It's just right up my alley. It's simple. It's only an hour 15 minutes, like not even a full 90. Yeah, it's a blast. I highly recommend it. It's on Shudder, so go check that out. The other thing I watched that you might have heard of was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Nice.
Finally got out of the house to a theater. I had seen, I swore off Marvel and said, I was sort of done. Still haven't seen several. I haven't even seen Love and Thunder. I haven't seen
The shows.
Eternals. I haven't seen.
Shang-Chi.
I have seen that, and I saw because it was nominated for an Oscar. I had to do it for the Oscar episode. But finally, I've seen all the Guardians in the theaters, and I love James Gunn, and this is sort of his swan song for Marvel, and I'm like, I can't just watch this one at home. I love these characters. I've grown with these characters. And has anyone else seen it?
Not yet.
Nope.
I have not.
Fuck, man, it is sad.
Yep.
It's not for the reasons you might think. Not like the end of characters or anything. I mean, that's all sad too. But it's just a story of, without spoiling anything, it's an origin story for Rocket. A lot of that, and that's really fucking hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because if you know Rocket's backstory, it's fucking dark. So a lot of flashbacks to his origins, and then forward flashing into the group, and James Gunn does it again, man. Like the most consistent Marvel thing. I mean, the Guardians movies are my favorite thing about the universe, and yeah, it's sad to sort of see him bow out and head over to DC, but I'm excited to see what he does over there. And
I feel like he's already proven himself at DC with Suicide Squad and
Oh, yeah.
Peacemaker.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm looking forward to more Peacemaker.
Hell yeah.
and he's doing a new Superman. That's his next project. So
Yay.
Can I make one more complaint about Ant-Man and Wasp? I forgot
Yeah.
about this
Yes.
one, and bringing up Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example. I kind of was disappointed on how they handled the villain, how they brought in the villain MODOK into the cinematic universe. Like, he was just big joke and way too goofy looking. I mean, I get it. It's a giant head with little tiny arms and little tiny legs, and he's supposed to be this big badass Marvel supervillain in the comics, and he is. And I feel like, whoever, was writing the script, or, the committee that's putting this together was like, oh, well, this is such a silly character, we can't do anything with it but just make it a joke. And I feel like that's lazy writing. Why not take a really weird, obscure,
Make it a challenge.
goofy, exactly, make it a challenge to make this character cool. And Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example of that. Everybody loves freaking Rocket. He is a talking raccoon, people. I mean, like, how more silly can you get? And James Gunn did it, and so I can't, So that was kind of a thing I forgot to bring up. Sorry.
No, I get it. It's funny you bring that up because my brother-in-law watched Quantumania and said that my mom's dog, she has this like a little tiny dog that's a huge, like super fluffy with like a little head and legs, and she said that he looked like him.
Start calling that dog MODOK. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Other than that, the first 2 episodes of the Eric Andre show are out right now, and that makes me laugh so hard it hurts. I'm finishing up Dave, which I absolutely love and recommend to everybody. That's on FX or Hulu. Sunny begins this week. We're in like Prime. I'm trying to think of what else just started. Oh man. Something else just started this past week that we watched. Obviously, not great if I'm not remembering it, but
I'm just waiting for someone else to recommend Dave to me so I can tell you how much.
That's fine.
I like it.
I think you
It's
should
very,
watch Dave, Jason. You should check it out.
it's very strange. He had an episode where he went to the Met Gala that had like 1 million celebrity cameos. That was really funny. But there was like a horror centric episode where he ended up at this really conservative, like Christian family's house. And very funny. But yeah, Eric Andre, man, like his show's 15 minutes long, and the first episode had Jaleel White, and he fucked with him so bad it made me like cry laughing. So funny. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I Think You Should Leave season 3 came out, and I watched it in one sitting, and watched it again twice. And
Wow.
Tim Robinson is the funniest human alive right now. So
Sorry, Mike.
Damn it.
has anyone? Does
It's only
anyone
'cause
even
I
know
don't
what
have
I'm?
a show.
I cannot. If there's one thing you take away from my recommendations, it's just watch an episode of I Think You Should Leave. It is like
I've seen some of it. It's
my
pretty
brain
great.
personified on the screen. Like Tim Robinson is insane, and it's so fucking funny. It's ridiculous. My God, I don't know if no one makes me laugh as much as he does. So it's on Netflix. I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. It's outlandish sketch comedy. The episodes are like 20 minutes long. Just go watch it. He used to write and be on SNL, and these are basically all the sketches that are too wild and stupid to be on SNL and too funny to be on SNL. So that's what I watched.
Nice.
Awesome. Cool.
Got
All
some
right.
recommendations in there.
Yeah. You won't watch them unless somebody
That's
else
true.
does.
Yeah.
So it's time to talk about some movies. Some movies recommended to us by the attackers. Speaking of recommendations, Jason, what is our first film?
The first film we are going to talk about today is from horror comedian Bill Fisher. His recommendation is from 1992. It's Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth.
In Hellraiser 1, Clive Barker showed you his vision of a private hell. In Hellraiser 2, he took you on a journey inside the Inferno. Now, the terror returns in mankind's final confrontation with evil. And this time, it's going to be hell on Earth. Jesus Christ!
Not quite.
some? We're going to hell. Ladies first. Relax, baby. This is better than sex. It's so good to be back. Clive Barker presents Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth.
After learning in Hellraiser 2 that he used to be a British Air Force captain, Elliot Spencer, played by Doug Bradley, before he was sucked into another dimension and turned into the pain-craving creature known as Pinhead, Spencer's soul ends up in limbo. Meanwhile, Pinhead is sealed in a column, which is normal, which is
You questioning?
which is bought by J.P. Monroe. In a dream, reporter Joey Summerskill learns from Spencer she must reunite his two halves to send the murderous Pinhead back to his world. So yeah, this is directed by Anthony Hickox. I wanted to, I remember when this came out. I love part 1 and 2 a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lot. I have Pinhead tattooed on my arm. I love them. And I really went into this 100% like, Bill, you must love this movie. For you, buddy, I'm going to give it the honest go. I'm going to try. Well, who else wants to say something?
Is this your first time watch?
No, I've seen it before, and I saw it when it came out, and it's I'm gonna just let someone else talk.
I will say this. This is the first time watch for me. I've never seen Beyond. I've seen Hellraiser 1 and 2 in the reboot for Hulu.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
But I have been afraid to watch the other sequels because I've always loved the first two so much. They have that Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 feeling where, they just sort of go
It's
hand in
debatable
hand.
which one's better.
Right, yeah, and they just go hand in hand and they're great.
Yeah. It's almost like
punch.
one movie, yeah.
Right, and so I was just sort of like, man, like I had seen the CD Cenobite with like CDs in his head. And I'm like, this can't be good. Like, there's no way this is. So in my head, I've hyped this up as bad for like 20 years. Like this, I know like they're supposedly like this is a slight step down from 1 and 2, and then they like jump off a fucking cliff and faceplant, right? Sorry, Brian Clark, you're probably yelling, 4 is the best one in the franchise. Whatever bullshit he's going to argue.
I'm on that side too. I really like 4. Way better than this one, that's for sure.
But I think my severely low expectations and dread of watching this made it more watchable. It was fine. It's definitely a product of its time. I mean, a CD Cenobite. Yeah, a CD Cenobite says everything you need to say.
And then there's a bartender Cenobite too,
Yeah.
With like
That has a flamethrower mouth? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was that?
Yeah.
No, all that CGI stuff they tried.
That, yeah.
With the
when
bendy faces and stuff.
Yep, and get
so
pulled
bad.
into the thing, yeah.
So bad.
this is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff, but it's not nearly as bad as not as big of a jump in bad quality as I was expecting all these years. And maybe it's, not saying it's good, but it's definitely not as bad as I had put in my head.
Yeah. When Tad said it's a product of its time, it was something that I wanted to touch on. It was, and when he said it was released in '92, it started making perfect sense because this is the dying days of like hair metal, and you can see that by like the house band and how people were dressing. This like grunge hadn't just really made it yet, and they're wearing they're in Los Angeles or something, and they're wearing like designer cowboy boots. I mean, like, which just I think is hilarious because like the last time these guys were anywhere near, close to a fucking cow was when they were shit-faced in an Arby's. But but that being said, a lot of like he's wearing a leather duster with cowboy boots, and he's like in the middle of L.A. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. But anyway, I can forgive that, right? But yeah, just I don't have a problem with the story per se. The story's not bad, but I must say, like, out of all the Hellraiser movies that I've seen, I like the designs of the Cenobites in this movie the least. Particularly the cameraman. The cameraman Cenobite
Yeah.
was pissing me off.
Stabs a guy with his
Seriously.
lens eye. What the?
Yes, because and I'm just like, first of all, he's a B character, and he's in the movie for maybe 2 minutes tops, and he's making puns like he's Freddy in Part 3.
That was
Ready
a
for
big
your close
problem.
up. I'm just like, Cenobites don't do that shit.
No.
They're supposed to just be menacing, and they're supposed to have this like relentless pursuit, and I'm just like, he's doing like all these one-liners like that's a rap, and I'm just like, who are you? It was just, he was getting on my goddamn nerves. I'm just
Who do you
like,
think you are?
Exactly.
Which club are you
Yeah,
in?
exactly. We have a disc man. We have a bartender. We have a guy with like, what was that? What was in that J.P. Monroe's head? Like the some weird sort of
Oh, like the
I don't know,
drill
like
thing or whatever?
two pogo sticks in his head. I don't know what
Yeah.
the fuck that thing was. And then the one with the girl with the cigarette in her mouth.
In her
obviously,
throat.
but in her
In
throat.
her
Sorry.
neck, yeah.
But I did a little bit of looking, and I'm not taking any of Thad's thunder. But she was actually in *Malignant*. She played Beverly in *Malignant*.
Mm.
Which
I didn't have
thought
that
was-
on my trivia, so
Yeah, I was just looking through. I was just like, shit, she was in *Malignant*. Wow.
yeah, no idea.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, the story was okay, but just like some of the decisions made in this were just like, no.
But guys, we got so much more Pinhead. It's what we wanted from part 1 and 2. We didn't get hardly any in 1 and 2.
Was it Pinhead, though?
It's Doug Bradley.
Here's
He's saying words.
I have some
Got to
comments
show more of
about
his
that.
chops off with without the makeup on. So
What are your thoughts, Mike?
I, too, have not seen this since it first came out. I didn't like it then, and I hate it now. And I had forgotten that it was directed by Anthony Hickox, and when I saw that pop up on the screen, I got excited. So, like, I was going in feeling like I had a bit more of a positive attitude instead of just going in with hate. And it's a movie, honestly, I've been wanting to rewatch for a long time.
Sure.
It's just like,
Sure.
my 90s Mike's taste is different than
Yep.
nowadays
You
Mike's
like 1,
taste,
2, and
so-
4. Maybe 3 was better than you thought.
Yeah, exactly. And with Anthony Hickox, he directed Waxworks 1 and 2. He directed Warlock.
Love, love, love.
So I feel, yeah, exactly. So I feel like I was excited for this rewatch. But, man, I think right out of the gate, one of my biggest problems was Pinhead. I felt like he was... I felt like... Stop it.
How dare you?
I felt like he was way out of character.
He's part column, part Pinhead.
Well, that's the thing. The argument that he's way out of character is that Pinhead is separated from Elliot, but that doesn't even make any sense to me. Are you just telling me that all the Cenobites are just comprised of a demon and a human host that turns into the Cenobite? It doesn't make any sense. Either it's all one or nothing in my thought. And
Yeah, they sort of changed the lore to be convenient.
yeah. So why even need a human host in the first place if Pinhead
a
already
demon from hell,
exists?
yeah.
And even if that makes sense to me, I'm not a fan of this version of Pinhead. This again, Freddy Krueger joking, emotion showing, like
Yeah.
you know, and then Mr. Chatty Chatterson, Pinhead, you know, Mr. Manipulation Pinhead. None of that characterization is in the first two movies. And how stoic and everything, you know, from those first two movies is what makes Pinhead such a amazing, frightening character. So right out of the gate, problem with Pinhead. The other big problem I had with it is that the idea of the Cenobites just roaming the streets on Earth, I think, is a great idea. Hell on Earth, like the movie describes. I mean, it's very Jason Goes to Hell, and the fact that we get Hell on Earth for maybe like 2 scenes. And but the problem is the mayhem was not epic at all. It was like some of the most low budget, like, oh, here's a few fire gags popping up from manholes and one car that skids across the street. There's nobody in the streets. Maybe one random character shows up and gets stabbed in the neck by a freaking camera lens. And so it just wasn't as epic as it I mean, we're talking Hell on Earth, right? Anytime a horror monster is taken out of their element and put in a big city setting, Cenobites or Jason, my expectations always go to American Werewolf in London as the model for what I think that chaos should look like. And maybe that's not fair to make those kind of expectations, but in this case, especially Hell on Earth, right? And in this particular movie, it's proven that the Pinhead, anyway, can literally do any magic thing he wants to in the convenience of story at some times and not other times, right? Like we talked about earlier. You would think the mayhem would be more epic. And maybe you can blame budget, because obviously it looks like it was reduced for budget. Had to have been, right? But I go back to, again, who directed this motherfucker? Anthony Hickox. Waxworks 1, I would assume, was a much lower budget than Hellraiser 3.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that final scene where all the waxworks come to life and the good guys come in. It is chaos for like 5-10 minutes, and it's awesome. Why couldn't he do that in this? Anyway.
Speaking of the mayhem, one of my scenes that I almost kind of like now because I think it's funny, is when the bartender throws his drink, and the cop just says, "Oh my God, gasoline," because the Cenobite stopped to fill up his cup full of gas. Okay.
For me, the only thing this movie had going for it wasn't even original. It was Christopher Young's score. If you get to use that, you got like instant street cred. I mean, it's going to carry it, but yeah.
And Lemmy singing Hellraiser was.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt anything.
That's the credits.
But it's hard to imagine Bill trying to punk us, though. Do you think he actually likes this movie? Like,
there's got to be. There's got to be fans out there.
There's a lot of kills, though, right? Do you like the gore? Like Bill, I can see Bill being all about the kills.
There were some cool kills, I think. Yeah. Trying to remember now. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you got some gore in there. Again, yeah, the CGI is bad.
So bad.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh, the worst.
Confirmed.
The worst. The worst was like, what the hell was that? Like, that guy that was frozen and then smashed. What?
The ice came out of his drink and stabbed him in the mouth or something.
That was it. Yeah, that was
Looked
bad.
like shit. Yeah,
that was bad. That was Birdemic bad right there. Nah, that's exaggerating.
I mean, this was pre-Jurassic Park, so I mean,
but post Terminator 2, right?
Yeah, but he's just James Cameron again.
Yeah. Hey, Ted loves this movie. Let him like it.
it's like
Don't go saying that.
It's his favorite Hellraiser now.
same year as Candyman, though, right? 92?
Right, because Clive Barker went out and promoted both of them at the same time because he was still probably getting a nice paycheck out of this.
He's got a story credit on it. I would assume it's just
Characters, probably.
contractually obligated. to give him a credit. But I mean, I could see people being fans of this movie, but you definitely don't want to marathon 1, 2, and 3, because then you'll definitely see. I feel like you'd see the gap in quality.
Just keep it strictly a double feature.
Yeah, not a trilogy.
Yeah. Sorry, Bill, if I was too harsh.
I don't think he's sorry.
If all of us were, I don't think Jason's actually said anything other than they like.
Well, my mom said if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, and definitely don't ask me about the next movie.
I said it. I said I like the story.
Yeah.
It's-
I like the score.
I like the concept.
Okay.
Again, Hell on Earth, right? Could have been awesome.
I always forget about how like badass the Hellraiser score. Like no one talks about the cool
It's
scores
good.
in these movies.
God damn, it's so good.
Oh yeah, they are great.
Like I'll listen to it on its own. Just sometimes when I'm doing work, I'll have some, and I'm like, sometimes I gotta turn it off because I'm like, it's too fucking creepy. Like it brings up the goosebumps, man.
It's heavy, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's not simple little piano.
No,
It's, yeah.
it is serious business. I fucking love it.
All right, Tad, what trivia do we have for Hellraiser 3? Hell on Earth?
Surprisingly, quite a bit, but I only pick 3 for time's sake. This one I love. Okay, Peter Jackson was asked to direct, but declined because he couldn't see himself directing such a serious horror movie. He liked the final product, but added that if I had made a Hellraiser film, I'd like Pinhead to be whacked against a wall and have all the pins flattened into his face. I immediately start thinking of funny things and gags. That's just the way I am.
Oh, that would have been awesome. I would have wanted to see that.
A slapstick Hellraiser.
Talk about being here. I'm bitching about everything being way out of character and separated from the other 2 films, and I'm like, I kind of want to see Peter Jackson's take.
But I like that he like recognizes that and is like, it's not for me. I'm going to step away from one of the biggest horror franchises. Yeah. That takes some willpower to not take that check. Both this film and Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice, were shot back to back using the same crew to save money.
This one was second. I'm just kidding.
I
I don't think I've seen Children of the Corn 2.
Oh, I have. I've seen probably the first 6.
They drop off harder than these.
Oh,
do.
than anything.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, John Sullivan.
talk about bad CGI. Oof. Those movies. It starts to make sense when you think about this and Children of the Corn 2. But anyways, and then the final piece I had is that this is the first Hellraiser film to refer to Doug Bradley's character as Pinhead within the movie. So the first time we actually hear that,
Nice.
That I was that something that Clive Barker? I don't know why I'm asking you guys as if I'm the one doing trivia, but does anyone know if that's something Clive Barker wrote in the stories, or is that just like sort of the people in just adapted that name in pop culture? Like, oh, he's Pinhead.
I don't know.
I think it's that one where he was probably just a monster in the books, and stuff. But
I think you're right. Yeah. It was
and
probably
we
described as such, but
as simple humans have to fucking have a name for
everything,
shit.
yeah.
So I think
yeah, oh yeah, because I would bet you $1 million if we went back and watched the first one, none of those guys are credited by their now known character names. Yeah.
Like lead Cenobite, female Cenobite.
Yep.
blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
maybe Chatterer and Butterball, but
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you for the trivia. Andy, what's our next film?
Our next film is from 2009, and it is called Laid to Rest.
Asheville County Police Department, what is your emergency?
I was in a box.
We're sorry. You're off.
Tucker tells me picked you up on the street. That you were coming from a cemetery.
So you got a name?
Probably. Listen, ma'am, I saw a man.
How'd you get it? You okay?
You're safe here.
Oh, God, help us.
He's gonna kill me, ain't he? You're dead.
Nobody is gonna die here tonight.
I've been called a sinner.
He's not gonna stop ever.
Okay, a young girl wakes up in a casket with a head injury and no memory of her identity. She quickly realizes she was abducted by a serial killer and must fight to survive. That's pretty vague, but basically, um, the girl wakes up in a mortuary and escapes, and she is pursued by this killer by the name of Chrome Skull because he has, for a mask, it's more like a half mask that's a chrome skull.
I get it.
Sort of like Pinhead. Pinhead, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
These
chrome
names.
skull, skull
so
chrome.
clever.
It's made, yeah. But he's unique in a way because he kind of has like this, kind of like the way the Predator has like a shoulder gun. He's got a camera on his shoulder, so he's recording all of his kills. And
So like the camera Cenobite.
They're pretty
Yeah.
much the same thing. This is a
there you
sequel.
go. They're exactly the same thing. It's all part of the canon. Anyway, she escapes and she gets picked up by this guy and taken back to her home. But the killer is in pursuit and tracking her down. And this has surprisingly I've had this movie for quite a long time and I haven't seen it in a while. But I forgot that Lena Headey from Game of Thrones and criminally underrated Dread was in this. And for an English woman, she does a pretty good accent for somebody that
She
lives
does.
like kind of like in the hills, in like, I don't know, I think they're in like Kentucky or something. I don't know, maybe Virginia. I'm not sure, but to me, in my opinion, this is low budget done very, very well. The kills and the gore, I think, are pretty top notch for what they're working with. All practical effects, like guys getting stabbed, through the cheek, and then just their jaws just getting ripped off. I mean, it's pretty damn gory. And for as little as Lena Headey has for screen time, it breaks your heart when she gets killed.
Yeah.
Which I think is, they established this relationship between her and her husband really, really well. But means that the girl that woke up in the beginning, she's in a, I guess, sort of like a amnesia fugue state because of her head, because of her head injury. So we slowly start to figure out, who she may or may not be as the movie goes along. Plus, it's also cool to see Roach in this movie, Sean Whalen.
Mm-hmm.
You guys recognize him, right?
Oh, heck yeah,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course.
It's about the only thing I enjoyed in this.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh. I thought he was really good in this. Is this a first time watch for you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll leave it to you. I saw this years ago. What did you guys think?
First off, before anybody jumps in, who?
Emily is the one who
Emily,
picked this
okay,
one.
all right.
Her new attackers. And this is so Emily too. I have this feeling.
Yeah. I feel like if I'm in the mood for something like this, I'll just watch Hatchet because it has it has humor to it, but it has that sort of same familiar, like sort of low budget throwback to the old slashers. But I guess if I want something more serious, it wasn't like I wouldn't call this bad, but I just wouldn't rewatch it. And I've heard about these movies because there's 2, 3, I don't know.
There's a sequel.
There's 2, and I think Daniel Harris is in the second one.
Of course, just like Hatchet.
Just like Hatchet, yeah.
But I don't know. It was fine. I'm glad I watched it for a first time watch and got it checked off the list because, like I said, I've heard about it quite, there was a bit there where Chrome Skull was like a thing and people were cosplaying and it had a following. It's been a while since the second movie came out, but I don't know. I just feel like a lot of other movies do it a little bit better, which I know Jason hates when I say that. But if this was, amongst my movies, this probably wouldn't be one I'd pull off the shelf very often. I don't like the sort of, I didn't love the lead guy, the bald guy that's like trying to protect them the whole time. I don't know, maybe he just reminds me of all like the guys that drive big trucks in Iowa.
He literally reminded me of someone that I know closely
Right.
and I don't love.
Right.
Not love, but I don't, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely reminded me of somebody.
Right, like it reminds me of like I know like 12 of these guys,
Yep,
and
yep.
He means well, but it's just like
Yeah, but that's the difference, right? Like compared to the rednecks we know that
This
remind
guy
us of this
stepped up.
guy. This guy seems to have a heart of gold. Even, you know, I mean, how many guys, especially redneck guys, would still be trying to help this girl out who basically got his wife killed and
dragged him into this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Continue.
That's all. I sort of go by Jason's mantra. I'm not going to shit on the movie.
I don't want
so
to.
I'll let Jason shit on it.
Okay, next. Lena Headley. What happened? Did she lose a bet? Like, why is she in this movie? She's so fucking amazing. She's such a great actress.
Was it early in her career?
No, this is 2009. God, what is she doing in this movie? Yeah, it's not for me. I'm sorry. I didn't like it. Mike, what did you like about this?
So yeah, this was definitely a first time watch, but I've known about it all this time.
Sure.
It's like you guys said, there were people
Splashed on the
cosplaying.
scene, yeah.
Yeah. It obviously made somewhat of an impact in the horror community, like Tad was saying, cosplayers. It got a sequel. It was featured in all the horror magazines at the time, all that jazz. And going into it, I'm like, am I watching the right movie?
What is that?
Because it came off way lower budget than I expected.
It's
like local film festival quality that I thought I was at the Cedar Rapids Independent Film Festival when I was watching it. It was that kind of quality to it, and the saving grace for me, I'll start off with
but not SNAF, not Snake Alley Film Festival, not that quality.
No, that's high quality.
Yeah, okay.
Films there. Nothing but the best.
That's right. Sorry.
The gore was amazing.
Yeah, holy shit.
The kills were great.
Fucking
yes.
A.
Oh,
and they were every 5 seconds.
I feel yes. So that was amazing, and that is what kept me going. The great kills, awesome gore. I felt like everything else felt so low budget because every goddamn dime went into the makeup effects. Brutal and just so over the top, like this giant knife just ripping people's freaking faces off. It was great. But man, couldn't wait to the next kill. The script needed a few more passes before it was greenlit.
There's some logic problems.
There's a lot of logic problems. You guys were wondering where it took place. I'll tell you where it took place. It took place in this part of the world where everything is not within reach. It's going to take us forever to get there. Yet we conveniently get to a funeral home, a gas station, all in short amount of time. Anyway, but we're so far away from civilization. But everything's right there. The dialogue was bad, and I'm not talking about the main girl. I get it. I get what they were trying to do there with her saying her bad grammar. Kind of like me right now.
Death box.
And, saying things like death box instead of coffin, whatever. A cemetery, not the funeral home, whatever. And just her bad grammar throughout the whole thing. I get what they're trying to do, and that's fine. But everyone else, we talked about Sean Whalen, and I love him to death and everything he's in, but I felt like he was bad in this too. And I don't blame him. I blame the dialogue. Go back and listen to his dialogue. It is like, it's kind of not what people sound like.
I liked the character he's playing because I felt like it was unique for him. It wasn't like, super coked out or like high intense. He it seemed like he was trying to play a normal dude who was in a tough situation, who just went through some terrible thing with his mom, and like just trying to be a normal guy. But the words that he had to say sometimes weren't great.
It was like really exposition-y with some of his trying to develop his character kind of things. Like, well, I can't go in there because I might see my mom, talking about the funeral home. And I'm just like, what kind of dialogue is this? Yeah, so I was not a fan of the dialogue. I kind of liked the lead guy because him and his wife, because like right out of the gate, he picks up this girl, and I'm like, oh, this can't go good.
Right.
And then, he turns out to be kind of the hero of the movie in a sense, even though he gets shit on through this entire movie, and he continues to protect this girl. And so I kind of liked his character. I didn't mind him the most. He was probably my favorite character other than his wife. But then again, that demographic worked together well, because when you first introduce her, they're kind of like, they're not fighting per se, but they're at odds about the fact that he brought this weird girl home. But then she turns around and just starts being really nice to her and embracing her and trying to help her. And I'm just like, that just voids all expectations. And I liked that. Just again, some of their dialogue was poorly written. And I don't blame any of the actors for that. I 100% blame the writing, but and again, I think maybe I went in with too high of an expectation, just because a legend is built up at this point for me. Again, like, this is a movie that is seeped into the horror genre, that people know of it, and the main killer look, I think, is a good look. I don't mind it. So maybe I went in with maybe too high of an expectation, but it didn't meet any of that. So other than the gore, again, can't talk enough about the kills.
The thing that I worried about the most with this movie is if we were going to have to get our lawyers on the line, because we made this movie called Lights, Camera, Kill.
Yes.
It's pretty similar.
And I think that's why I'm really dissing on this movie. I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you did.
But seriously.
All right, Tad. I'm done being mean.
Jeez, you're so mean tonight.
I'm an asshole tonight. Wait till I talk about the next one.
Well, thanks, Emily, for being an attacker. We appreciate your time with us while we had you.
Tad, what trivia do you have on this?
Not much. Lead actress Bobby Sue Luther and director Robert Hall used to be married. Isn't that interesting? If you think that's interesting, wait till you hear the next one. There was 3, and 1 didn't even make the cut, so I only have 2. Around the 69 minute mark, there is a frame in which the character of Tommy is wearing a pair of Vans skater shoes with the print of Iron Maiden's Killers album. Yeah, I know. Imagine how bad the third one was if I'm not including it.
Oh shit!
Oh man, that's a bummer too, because I want to know more about this movie.
Let's lay it to rest.
Oh. No, I got that one. There we go.
You got that, and I didn't.
Weird.
That is weird. All right, Tad, what's our next movie?
Our next movie is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
I don't suppose they told you anything in Denver about the tragedy we had up here during the winter of 1970? I heard a man named Charles Grady is the winter caretaker. From what I've been told, he seemed like a completely normal individual. But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown. He ran amok and killed his family with an axe.
Well, you can rest assured, Mr. Ullman, that's not going to happen with me.
That's right.
Mom, Do you really want to go and live in that hotel for the winter?
Sure I do. It'll be lots of fun.
The only thing that can get a bit trying up here during the winter is the tremendous sense of isolation.
Is there something bad here?
I fear you will have to deal with this matter in the harshest possible way.
I believe that I killed you and Danny.
You did this to him, didn't you?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains. Here's Johnny.
I mean, do I really need to read a description for this one? A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter where a sinister presence influences the father into violence while his psychic son sees horrific forebodings from both past and future. So based on the Stephen King novel, directed by the maestro Stanley Kubrick. Great cast of Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Danny Lloyd. Scatman Crothers, one of my favorite movies of all time. Not one that isn't steeped in controversy because it, in typical Kubrick fashion, goes way off the rails from the source material. But I love this movie. Love the cinematography. Love the score. Love the performances. Love the graphic design on the posters and all the artwork. I mean, this is a classic. I'm surprised we haven't done this one before. I have nothing but great things to say about this movie, and I was surprised to hear off the mic that Jason might not feel the same way, so I'm calling you out. Jason did apparently just fuck every movie on this list, I guess.
Directed traffic, Tad.
No, I agree with all the things you said. Performances, great. I love Shelley Duvall so much in this. She's so great to me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jack just seemed to be mugging the whole time, but, I mean, what a great mug. He's just so fun to look at, but, yes, I mean, what you said is all true. But this time around, no, I thought not a lot, but there was some scenes I'm like, fucking, someone else edit this. This
Wait.
Poorly edited.
What?
Slow and...
What? You're calling this slow?
This? Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. I've never heard you call a movie slow.
Oh. No, like, I don't want to, like, reenact a scene here, but, like, yeah, it was just, I don't know, the pacing, which is part of the controversy of this film. I mean, it's one of the reasons it was panned by critics is just that it's slow. Wow. But yeah, no, I just thought some of the editing wasn't that, I don't know. And then at the end, I'm like, why is she seeing the ghosts again? I'm like, why not? I was just, I mean, I know it's supposed to be confusing, but I was like, I don't know, guys. I mean, yeah, the score's great, and the acting's great, and the concept's cool, and I thought Scatman Crothers bit it way too fucking fast for, spending 20 minutes climbing screen time. We watch him drive that thing for 20 minutes straight, and then
wasn't he all the way down in Florida or something? Because that's where he actually lived.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah,
he
that's where he was. He took a flight.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then he got in the snowcat, and then he drove up the mountain, and
then just boom,
instantly dead. I'm like, fuck you.
No, that's great. You're just mad because he was killed and he's a Transformer.
Sure, he's the voice of Jazz, but
yeah,
it's good. What?
I agree with, everything, I guess I agree with everything that Tad says. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say something that hasn't already been said. Um, yeah, I mean,
But how does it make you feel, Andy?
how does it make me feel? I mean, I think Kubrick uses the hotel. I mean, it's the way I would describe this movie is atmospheric. It's just the whole aura of, the way it's filmed is the way he uses the whole aura of, the hotel. And the reason why I think it's slow is because it's a character driven movie. So it's, I mean, the hotel in and of itself is a character. So, I mean, and it's basically the hotel slowly screwing with Jack and Jack slowly, losing his mind. And, so you're not just going to go ape shit within 20 minutes of the movie, you know? Yeah, I mean, it's just really damn good. And plus it's, I like, smaller casts in just one central area.
Yeah.
That's why I love like movies like, Night of the Living Dead and, Evil Dead. Just it's this intimate setting, where it's, there's imminent danger, around the corner all the time. And one of the things, here's a bit of a funny story. I rented this in college because I had not seen it. This was like back in like 98, 99. And I had a girlfriend at the time. You know what her name was? Wendy. So like I would do that, scene that's like, Wendy, darling, light of my life. I'm just gonna bash him right the fuck in. But yeah, I mean, plus I'll watch any movie where Jack Nicholson is just, chewing the scenery and just going nuts,
Well, I know there was obviously, like Jason said, it's been called, some of the critics said it was slow. It's funny because on the other end of the spectrum, like Stephen King thought casting Jack Nicholson was like almost jumping into it too fast because in the book it's like a slow descent into madness, and Nicholson already has that manic presence immediately when he walks into that interview where it's like, okay, it's not at all surprising this guy goes nuts, because even when he's joyous, he's scary.
Like, why aren't you normal?
But I just love, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a sucker for like, or I fall into the hype of the Kubrick thing, but it's just like the sets here are all gorgeous and they're so big. Like that huge room he's riding in is just,
of course,
seeing him he's like a little ant in this gigantic room riding. I just love these scenes and the quietness of it that ramps up to these moments, and just like Wendy constantly walking on eggshells, which was actually like happening on set, and just almost feel bad. Yeah.
I don't see how her cigarette ash didn't get people to quit smoking. That thing was like 14 inches long.
I'm a little taken back. Kind of doing, I don't know. I've been sitting here with my brain.
Oh, good luck.
Going a million miles an hour, trying to do a little self, reflection. To hear Jason say that this was slow, and I don't mind the pacing of this movie.
What is happening?
When I bitch and moan about all those other movies, these like artsy-fartsy A24 movies you guys just love, and I'm just like, these are so fucking boring. Why is this one? Is it a nostalgia thing? It might be. I mean, obviously saw this movie many times throughout the years, and started out way back as a teenager. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I'm sitting here talking out loud, trying to figure myself out. Maybe I need to go back and watch some of those A24 films. I don't know. No. Let's see.
Jesus.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm seriously trying to figure this out, because like it's hypocritical to be like, this one ain't slow, but this one's slow. So I don't know what it is.
I know. I've been trying to think about how to talk about it too,
Yeah.
other than just say like, I just didn't feel like it was a masterpiece this time. That's all.
Is it a disconnect with the characters maybe that makes it feel
No,
slow
I
to
just
you,
didn't feel like
or-
sucking this movie's dick this time I watched it. That's all. I'm like,
all right.
That's all. I just like, I didn't think it was. I mean, all the things you say are true. It's great. It's beautiful. But, like, I don't know. Just didn't do me this time.
I still think it's quotable behind, besides the here's Johnny, Especially when he's making fun of Wendy, I still think that's hilarious, You think maybe he meets a doctor.
But I'm with
Good
Tad.
stuff.
I'm with Tad. I really like the camera work in this. Just, I forgot how much the camera moves in this. I just love those like scenes where they're like walking through the hotel and the camera is so far back that there's walls and pillars that obstruct the vision of the characters as we see them walking along. Stuff like that, or following the kid on the bike.
On the big wheel, yeah.
Yeah. Such great camera work, and it's only emphasized by just how gorgeous this setting is. I mean, I love some of those like red walls and shit, and of course the iconic carpeting. And
that's what I was gonna say. Does anybody else but me want that carpeting in their house? I do.
And I feel like the hotel itself is a character that also descends into madness with along with Jack, because I mean everything just seems so beautiful and gorgeous, but it just gets creepy as it goes on. And I don't know if that's the work of the camera or if the manipulation of the setting or that score. I'll tell you that I freaking love the score this time around. I've always been aware of the score, and it's like some of its iconic stuff, but just constant through the movie, this like haunting score that I feel like really puts you on ease. And you talk about listening to the Hellraiser soundtrack, and then times you have to turn it off. I feel like that would be the same for me if I were to listen to this score on its own while I'm alone. But I also find it interesting that this movie can create such claustrophobia in such a wide open space as this hotel. And I think a lot of that has to do with the snowstorm outside, and they're just kind of trapped in there. But
maybe the maze as well.
And in the maze. And I also am now in my head comparing this to Laid to Rest.
What?
The contrast.
Why?
Let me explain. The contrast in dialogue writing. Because there's certain scenes, like the scene, I feel like all three of the main characters in the movie are really captivating when they're on screen for me. And they have to be, because they're carrying the whole goddamn movie. And one of the scenes, for some reason, that stood out to me this time around is when, I forget who she's talking to, when Shelley Duvall is telling the story about how Danny dislocated his shoulder or whatever. And it's like such a character developing bit of dialogue that really kind of, again, describes Jack's character through this dialogue, which, again, could also be part of the problem that Stephen King had with this film, as far as it's not a big leap to see him go into this madness when he's already kind of a piece of shit to begin with. But just that speech, and how that is how you write a scene of dialogue, and that is how you say those lines in order, as far as exposition without sounding like exposition, as far as character development goes. Where in Laid to Rest, it was a lot more, A to B dialogue explaining backgrounds of these characters. I just bring that up as hopefully as maybe that would make more sense on why Laid to Rest's dialogue I had issues with.
I thought we laid that one to rest.
Yeah, Mike.
Fine. And yeah, but I still like this movie. But now I gotta really.
Now you have to hate Jason more.
No. It has nothing to do with that. It's just it's my own hang-ups of why is this movie a slow burn that I don't like, but this one's a slow burn that I do like.
Maybe can you use the word slow burn as an excuse not to like a movie anymore? Is that what you're faced with now?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, maybe. I feel like I've explained myself way more than just saying slow burn over and over again when it comes to some of those movies you guys really dig on that don't connect
Mike's
with
in
me.
a paradox now.
A little bit. A little bit. You know, I just don't want to be a hypocritical film critic here, you know. You know, why is one, and sometimes it's environment when we're watching these things too, you know. Watching something, you know, it's not the best example, but for some reason it's the only movie that springs to mind. Watching Lamb because I'm watching it for the show and I'm trying to marathon it to try to get to the year end. Probably is not the best environment to watch a movie that is slow moving like that. So, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, I'm going through a midlife crisis here. Tad, what trivia do you have for The Shining?
There probably isn't any.
I was gonna say if there's probably like a dozen feature-length documentaries on this movie. So I can't. I mean, I picked a few, but it's like, you know, if you're into this movie, you've probably seen Room 237 and all these things. But Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall have expressed open resentment against the reception of this film, feeling that critics and audiences credited Stanley Kubrick solely for the film's success without considering the effort of the actors, crew, or the strength of Stephen King's underlying material. Nicholson and Duvall have said that the film was one of the hardest of their careers. In fact, Nicholson considers Duvall's performance the most difficult role he's ever seen an actress take on. Duvall also considers her performance the hardest of her life.
Rightfully so.
Almost like maybe did psychologically ruin her.
That's the controversy.
Guy tortured
right?
her.
Stanley Kubrick was not a nice guy.
And then this one is just stupid funny. Is sort of a palate cleanser. To get Jack Nicholson in the right agitated mood, he was fed only cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks, which he hates. So stupid.
But we definitely want to thank Attacker Rose.
Thank you. I was going to ask, yeah.
Thank you, Rose.
Yes, Rose. Thank you. And thanks to all the attackers who put in suggestions.
Yep, if you didn't hear yours on today's show, we'll just hang out until the next one. You'll probably be on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that is going to be it, though, for the films we're going to talk about on this episode. Fear not, fellow listeners. There is more Attack of the Killer podcast to come. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be doing our segments. Yay, segments! But first, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network, the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. It's home to over 30, that's right, 30 shows. For example, the Bad Movie Bunny podcast.
Yeah.
Every episode reviews horror and thriller movies. But is the scream you hear your own? Oh, shit. That's right. Check out the Bad Movie Bunny podcast and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show, and oh man, I hope you're all ready, because it is now time for Shout Out!
It's time for
Shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked, what are your favorite horror movies that were recommended to you by a friend? And guys, I don't know if we can do shout-outs today because Mike, I mean, there are like thousands of comments of like, it's all from you and Attack of the Killer podcast.
Yeah, figured.
Yeah, so like I'll just pick out some.
Read them.
I'll read some that weren't about you. Okay, so first we got attacker Brett Royer. He says Demons, recommended by Mr. Tad Good.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Very. We got Tim Lennerer. He says half of every hubris ween is recommended by my partner in podcasting crime, Sean Frost. Here is a partial list of good horror flicks I hadn't seen that they put on various hubris ween lists. Big Ass Spider, The Cat.
Oh, that's so good.
The Cat and the Canary, Dead of Night, Evolution 2015, The Ghoul, Island of Lost Souls, The Johnsons, Jugface, The Living Skeleton, Maniac Cop, The Old Dark House, Oni Baba, The Phantom Carriage, The Pit, Return to Horror High, Splinter, Virana, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, You're Next, and Zaat. Okay, Zaat isn't good, but I enjoyed it anyway. Up next, we got Jacob McLaughlin. He says, The Return of the Living Dead, recommended by both Brian and Tim. One of the best zombie movies ever. It's true.
Hell yeah.
He also says Prince of Darkness, which Brian put on during a movie night, one of my absolute favorite Carpenter films. And then lastly, he says, Tales from the Hood, recommended by Tim, the best horror anthology that I have ever seen. And then Tim chimes in, Jacob, have you ever heard the good news about Colossus, the Forbin Project? He's always trying to pimp that thing. And then lastly, we got attacker Emily Randolph. She says, I don't know if this counts, but I had never watched John Carpenter's The Thing until it was shown at an Insane's Asylum movie night.
Yeah.
It's now one of my favorite movies, and I also want to say my friend K-Man always gives me the best 80s horror suggestions with introducing me to Chopping Mall and The Intruder, the 1989 one. Very awesome.
Very awesome. Yeah, Emily, I don't know about you, but I sure miss those movie nights. Those
movie nights
I
were
miss the
legendary.
store.
Yeah, for real. Well, that's all the shout-outs today. Well, we do have a voicemail here, and you guys are going to like this. I wasn't sure if we'd ever hear from Brian again after last episode.
That was your fault.
I know, it is.
Yep.
I've tried my best to apologize.
Keep your mouth shut.
I know. I'm just going to be quiet on this one, but here is Brian.
Hey, everybody, Attacker Brian here, and I just got finished with my therapy session from Jason making fun of me last week on the show, and I saw Facebook, and they were asking about your favorite horror movie recommended by a friend. Look, I was going to go with something by Jason, but I don't know that we're friends anymore because he hurt my heart so bad. But I remember somebody from the show, again, I can't remember who, maybe I don't remember. I'm so traumatized. But I remember someone from the show saying I should watch The Greasy Strangler. And if your friends are not telling you to watch The Greasy Strangler, you need new friends. You need an old man with a big wang going through a car wash after he kills people. That's the whole movie. That's all you need to know. So I will be that friend and recommend it to you. Hope you guys have a good week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, Greasy Strangler.
Heck yeah. And sorry about your therapy bill. Just be careful what you say next time. So yes, thank you. You too can leave your voicemail and get your comments on the show. You can give us a call at 415-952-6857, also known as 415-95-AOTKP. Type that into your phone. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
But we're not done yet. We got one more segment. It's time for Insane's Picks.
And welcome to Insane's Picks.
Okay.
With Insane's Picks, exploration into films outside the horror genre, yet are still strange and bizarre cult films. How have I not talked about one of my favorite directors? He has made films in so many various genres, yet still has his weird and shocking visual style. Of course, I am talking about Takashi Miike.
Oh, what?
That's right. And for this episode of Insane's Picks, we're going to be talking about Gozu from 2003. A Yakuza enforcer is ordered to drive his colleague and brother to be assassinated. On the way to their destination, he accidentally kills his brother. However, the body mysteriously disappears. Now he is on a mission to find the body, what follows is a twisted, surreal, horrifying experience, featuring such disturbing visuals such as a man with a cow head and a nasty-ass tongue, an innkeeper who is obsessed with her own breast milk, and her brother who can channel spirits, just to name a few. Gozu is typical Takashi Miike, weird and twisted. It's so bizarre that even David Lynch would be like, that was weird. I don't get it. If you have never seen a Takashi Miike film, you cannot judge his body work based on just one of his movies, since he's just all over the place. And he makes like 20 movies a year. But the thing is about his movies and his output is he does a lot of movies, but they all have a high quality look to them. There's just no skimping on the quality. It's definitely quality and quantity when it comes to Takashi. But if you've never seen one of his films before, Gozu is probably a pretty good place to start. If not that, maybe Happiness of the Katakuris or Audition.
13 Assassins.
Yep. Zebra Man is another one of my faves. Anyway, definitely check out Gozu.
Fine, I will.
Do it. And that is it, folks. That is this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I want to thank you guys all for listening. Get more Attack of the Killer Podcast in your life by going to jointheattackers.com and donate to the show. And you can also get even more Attack of the Killer Podcast because we're on Facebook, Twitter, the Instagrams, the Tickety Talks. We have a YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to that and all those awesome things. We're everywhere. You can't get away from us. So thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will talk to you all next time on Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Wow. Attack of the Killer Podcast.